Hello from Who Died Today America, and welcome back to our channel. In the past few days, we have received somber news about the passing of extraordinary talents. Today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Additionally, we will recap the stars whom we have recently lost. Before we begin, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you. The voice of Mr. Ben will never fade. Those words echoed online in the wake of Ray Brooks' passing, a testament to the generations who grew up comforted by his warm, familiar tone. Ray Brooks, who died peacefully at the age of 86, left behind a legacy etched into the history of British entertainment. Over more than 5 decades, he brought life to some of television and film's most enduring characters, with grace, humor, and quiet brilliance. He first turned heads in The Knack and How to Get It, the Palme d'Or-winning film that marked him as a rising star. In 1966, he lent his gravitas to Ken Loach's landmark drama Cathy Come Home. Later, he returned to the nation's heart in the 1980s as the lovable rogue Robbie Box in Big Deal, and again as Joe Macer in EastEnders. But it was as the narrator of Mr. Ben that Ray became woven into daily childhood rituals. That voice, gentle, steady, endlessly inviting, carried viewers into a world of imagination and never truly left. Born in Brighton, Ray had a rare gift, the ability to connect across mediums, whether standing in front of a camera, voicing radio drama, or imaginatively crafting entire worlds with just his words. He was always modest about his talents, focusing instead on steady work, honest performances, and showing up for his audience. In his final years, Ray lived with dementia. He died after a short illness with his family at his side. His sons, Will and Tom, survive him. He was predeceased by his daughter Emma in 2003. Tributes have poured in since his passing. Fellow actors and broadcasters described him as a consummate professional, a gentle soul, and an irreplaceable voice in British culture. Ray Brooks lit up screens and hearts. Through joy, struggle, and play, he gave stories a home, and in doing so, gave us one too. His voice may be quiet now, but the echoes remain. He brought something from the church, something from the dirt. Real soul, Eric Clapton once said of Bobby Whitlock. That soul reverberated through decades of music, threading gospel-soaked piano chords and aching vocals into some of rock's most enduring contributions. Robert Stanley, Bobby Whitlock, the beloved co-founder of Derek and the Dominos, passed away on August 10, 2025, at the age of 77. His music shaped a generation, and his spirit shaped those lucky enough to share a stage or a studio with him. Raised in Millington, Tennessee, Whitlock came up through the Memphis soul scene, cutting his teeth at Stax Records before taking his gospel roots into the heart of blues rock. His breakthrough came alongside Delaney and Bonnie, where his church-trained keyboard style and rough-hewn harmonies caught the attention of Eric Clapton, leading to the formation of Derek and the Dominos. With the Dominos, Whitlock helped create one of the most revered albums in rock history, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. 7 of its tracks bear his writing credit, including Bell Bottom Blues, Tell the Truth, and Why Does Love Got to Be So Sad? Songs that still burn with urgency and heartbreak 5 decades later. His voice, sometimes leading, sometimes echoing Clapton's, became a signature of the Dominos' singular sound. Whitlock's talents took him beyond the Dominos. He played key roles in George Harrison's landmark All Things Must Pass sessions, contributed to the Rolling Stones' exile on Main Saint, and added his unmistakable flair to recordings by Dr. John and others. His solo albums Bobby Whitlock and Raw Velvet, released in the early 1970s, revealed a songwriter unafraid to bleed onto tape. Later in life, he rediscovered his joy in performing and recording, often in close collaboration with his wife and artist partner, Coco. Their work together brought a new generation into the orbit of his unfiltered, soulful tone. In Austin, he became both a performer and mentor, offering wisdom shaped by a lifetime in music. Whitlock passed peacefully at home in Texas after a brief illness, surrounded by family. Clapton, his longtime friend and Dominos bandmate, paid tribute, writing, "Our dear friend Bobby Whitlock has passed away at 77. Our sincere condolences to Bobby's wife Coco and his family on this sad day. He is survived by Coco Carmel, his children Ashley Faye Brown, Bo Elijah Whitlock, and Tim Whitlock Kelly. His absence leaves a silence, one that only soulful chords and raw honesty could ever fill." If music is the voice of the soul, Bobby Whitlock sang loud and true. His songs linger, his passion echoes, and his legacy, like the final notes of Layla, fades only to rise again in the hearts of those who listen. Judy's music didn't just fill the room, it lifted people, a former student once said of Judith Mary Judy Bailey OAM. That sentiment echoed far and wide as word spread of her passing in Sydney on August 8, 2025, at the age of 89. Born in Auckland and raised in Whangarei, Judy was already a prodigious talent by her teens. She brought that mastery of the piano to Australia in 1960, expecting a brief stopover but finding her life's stage. With commanding performances at the El Rocco Jazz Cellar and seamless orchestral work across Australia's major TV networks, she quickly became one of the nation's most respected musicians. Judy Bailey wasn't just heard, she was felt. Her recordings from the 1960s, like You and the Night and the Music and My Favorite Things, revealed a style both lyrical and uncompromising. But perhaps her greatest contribution came not from the concert stage, but the classroom. As a founding jazz faculty member at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music from 1973, she cultivated a generation of Australian jazz artists. Her teaching wasn't just about notes and rhythms, it was about confidence, creativity, and community. Through the Jazz Connection Big Band, which she directed for years, and her tireless work in school programs and on ABC Radio's Kindergarten, Judy made music an accessible, joyful part of daily life. From intimate jazz venues to national broadcast studios, from Musica Viva tours abroad to children swaying to her music in classrooms across Australia, Judy's work was vast and vibrant. Her piece Color of My Dreams, later sampled by rapper Rick Ross, proved how far her sound traveled and how timeless it remains. Among accolades like the Medal of the Order of Australia, her enduring reward was the success and warmth of those she taught. She made music more than something to perform, she made it something to live by. Fellow pianist and colleague Mike Knock once said, "Judy had the rare gift of making everyone around her sound better. She played from the heart, and she gave from it too." Judy Bailey leaves behind her children Lisette and Christopher, generations of grateful students, and a jazz community that beats stronger because of her. She taught us that music could change lives, and in doing so, she changed ours. There'd be no Led Zeppelin without Terry Reid. Robert Plant. Terry Reid's name may not be etched in every marquee, but to those who know rock's true roots, his voice and vision shaped legends. Known affectionately as Superlungs for his electrifying vocal range, Reid brought soul and fire to the British rock scene, standing shoulder to shoulder with icons and quietly redirecting its course. Born in St. Neots, England, he rose to fame as a teenage prodigy with Peter J. and the Jaywalkers. By the late 1960s, he was tearing up stages alongside the Rolling Stones, Cream, and Jethro Tull. But perhaps his most legendary move came off stage. When Jimmy Page invited him to join a new band, Reid graciously declined due to prior commitments. Instead, he recommended a young Robert Plant and urged Page to check out drummer John Bonham. The rest, as the world knows, became Led Zeppelin. His instincts helped launch one of history's greatest rock bands, yet Reid stayed true to his own artistic path. He turned down another chance at superstardom with Deep Purple, choosing instead to write, tour, and shape his sound on his terms. His solo records earned cult devotion, his live performances became the stuff of legend, and his songs, raw, soulful, masterfully sung, resonated with peers across decades. Aretha Franklin once grouped Reid in the rare air of the Beatles and the Stones. Artists like Jack White, Chris Cornell, and Graham Nash have since echoed that praise. Despite never chasing the spotlight, Reid inspired it. He became an artist's artist, as respected for his humility and integrity as for his unmatched voice. As word of his passing spread, tributes poured in. Robert Plant has long expressed gratitude for Reid's generosity and vision, telling the world Terry was the reason his life changed forever. Terry Reid passed away on August 4, 2025, at the age of 75, following a battle with cancer. He is survived by loved ones, with memorial details to follow. His death leaves a quiet space in the music world, but his sound, raw, defiant, beautiful, still echoes. It lives on in the DNA of modern rock, in the artists he inspired, and in the decisions that shaped anthems for generations. Terry Reid didn't just sing with power, he moved mountains with grace. Superlungs has taken his final bow, but his voice will never fade. There's a certain joy in being able to play a melody that lifts people's spirits, Chuck Mangione once said. For over 5 decades, he did just that, lifting hearts, bridging generations, and giving instrumental music a voice in the mainstream. Chuck Mangione passed away on July 22, 2025, at the age of 84. His life in music was more than prolific, it was transformative. With a flugelhorn in hand and a smile as warm as his melodies, he became a beloved figure in both jazz and popular culture, best known for the 1978 hit Feels So Good. That buoyant tune, instantly recognizable, became one of the most enduring instrumental themes of the 20th century, topping charts and soundtracking lives. From his early days co-leading the Jazz Brothers with his brother Gap, to his breakthrough with Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers, Mangione's path was grounded in jazz, yet fearless in exploration. He released over 30 albums and earned 14 Grammy nominations, winning 2 for Bellavia and The Sweeping Children of Sanchez. His presence reached beyond records, through Olympic performances, TV appearances like his animated self on King of the Hill, and music featured across film and advertising. Recognized by the Rochester Music Hall of Fame, Mangione remained fiercely connected to his hometown, often returning to support local musicians and jazz education. Those who knew him described him as generous, energetic, and devoted to the craft of sharing emotions without words. Composer David Benoit shared in a tribute, "Chuck gave us melodies that stayed with you for life. He reminded us that instrumental music could feel personal, even intimate. Whether it was the smooth optimism of Feels So Good or the cinematic passion of his Olympic themes, Chuck Mangione left behind more than notes on a page. He gave us joy, the kind that lingers in the soul. His flugelhorn may have fallen silent, but his music plays on, in headphones, in hearts, and in hallways of memory where melody still matters." His music had the pulse of the future and the soul of jazz. Those were the words of Quincy Jones, reflecting on the genius of Lalo Schifrin, a towering presence whose soundtracks reshaped how the world hears cinema. With just 5 jolting beats, Lalo Schifrin etched his name into pop culture history. The Mission, impossible theme became an anthem of suspense, mystery, and momentum, and with it, Schifrin changed the rhythmic vocabulary of film and television forever. Schifrin passed away on June 26, 2025, at the age of 93, due to complications from pneumonia. His influence, though, will echo for lifetimes. Born in Buenos Aires and classically trained in Paris, Boris Claudio Lalo Schifrin made music that defied categories. Whether scoring the gritty tension of Bullet, the philosophical depth of THX 1138, or the sharp wit of the Rush Hour trilogy, his work was unified by a daring musical voice that effortlessly blended jazz, Latin roots, and orchestral power. He was not just prolific, he was decorated. Over a career spanning more than 60 years, Schifrin garnered 5 Grammy Awards, 6 Academy Award nominations, and 4 Emmy nods, culminating in a 2019 honorary Oscar for his lifetime achievements. His journey took flight when jazz great Dizzy Gillespie discovered the young pianist and enlisted him to arrange and play in his band. That collaboration launched Schifrin's U.S. career and opened a path to Hollywood, where he became a trailblazer in film scoring. Known for his rhythmic mastery and harmonic richness, Schifrin believed music should make the listener feel. His compositions did more than accompany, they propelled stories forward. The heartbeat of Enter the Dragon, the nerve of Cool Hand Luke, the lingering eeriness of the Amityville Horror. Each score carried his unmistakable mark. Though origination is rare in any art form, Schifrin was an original. Lalo understood the drama of silence as well as the violence of sound, said director Brett Ratner, who worked with him on the Rush Hour films. He didn't just score scenes, he elevated them. Lalo Schifrin's work crossed boundaries, geographic, stylistic, and generational. From orchestral halls to jazz clubs and blockbuster cinemas, he built bridges with bold ideas and unforgettable melodies. His themes endured because they were never bound to trends. They pulsed with timelessness, just like the man who wrote them. He is survived by loved ones whose privacy is respected at this time. Memorial details have not yet been released. The world has lost a composer, but gained an eternal voice. In every racing heartbeat of film, in every jazz phrase that twists with elegance and fire, Lalo Schifrin lives on. The words they wrote told the stories our hearts didn't know how to speak, Barbra Streisand once said of Alan and Marilyn Bergman. That eloquent truth defines the legacy Alan Bergman leaves behind. On July 17, 2025, the legendary lyricist passed away peacefully at his home in Los Angeles, ending a life that elevated film and television music into art. For more than 60 years, Alan Bergman shaped the emotional soundtrack of American cinema. Alongside his wife and creative partner Marilyn, he penned lyrics that brought depth to storytelling and soul to melody. Their songs, The Way We Were, The Windmills of Your Mind, and the sweeping score of Yentl, aren't just cherished classics. They are emotionally etched into memories across generations. Born in the Brooklyn neighborhood of Crown Heights, Bergman was raised with music deeply woven into daily life. His love of language, matched with a deep musical instinct, would eventually earn him 3 Academy Awards, 4 Emmy Awards, and 2 Grammys. The Bergmans' induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame stands as a permanent reminder of their influence. His lyrical talents drew iconic collaborators, Michel Legrand, Marvin Hamlisch, Dave Grusin, Henry Mancini, John Williams, and inspired devoted partnerships rooted in trust and creative daring. Barbra Streisand, perhaps the Bergmans' most famous interpreter, once called working with Alan a privilege beyond words. Yet it wasn't only the accolades that defined him. Alan was a quiet force in the artistic community, mentoring young songwriters, lending his voice to organizations advocating for creative rights, and championing the dignity of his craft. Colleagues remember not just the beauty in his words, but the generosity behind them. When Alan spoke, there was poetry. When he wrote, there was truth. And when he and Marilyn wrote together, there was magic, an enduring magic that still moves audiences with just a line or a phrase. As preparations in Los Angeles pivot from his 100th birthday to a tribute honoring his life's work, the outpouring of love from artists, institutions, and fans reflects a simple truth. Alan Bergman helped us feel, deeply, universally, and forever. He is survived by his daughter, Julie Bergman Sender, and his extended family, including countless artists who carry his influence in their own work. Details of a public memorial have not yet been announced. The world has lost a poet of the heart. Through his lyrics, he gave voice to longing, joy, and the precious fragility of human connection. Alan Bergman's songs will keep singing, for every listener who ever heard a line and thought, "Yes, that's exactly how I feel." "He was in peace when he left," said his son Arturo, a simple phrase that captures the quiet dignity with which Flaco Jiménez closed out a life that echoed far beyond the borders of his beloved San Antonio. Flaco Jiménez didn't just play music, he built a bridge between cultures, generations, and genres. With his unmistakable accordion in hand, he gave voice to a sound rooted in heritage and carried it proudly across the world stage. From the dance halls of Texas to the Grammy stage, he blended conjunto, Tejano, and Tex-Mex with country, rock, blues, and pop, carving a space in American music for borderland rhythms and stories. Over a career spanning more than 70 years, Jiménez earned 5 Grammy Awards and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, collaborated with legends like Bob Dylan, Linda Ronstadt, the Rolling Stones, and Ry Cooder, and was revered as a founding member of both the Texas Tornadoes and Los Super 7. The National Endowment for the Arts honored him with a National Heritage Fellowship for his cultural contributions, an acknowledgement of both technical genius and immense heart. More than accolades, though, it was his generosity as a musician and mentor that resonated most deeply. Flaco welcomed all into his music, fans, peers, newcomers, and helped redefine what American roots music could be. His accordion wasn't just an instrument, it was a storyteller, bringing emotion, soul, and the spirit of the border to audiences worldwide. His influence is everywhere, in the twang of country radio, the stages of roots festivals, the fingers of young accordionists just discovering his sound. The Smithsonian once called him a pivotal figure, and that legacy remains vibrant and unshakable. Flaco Jiménez passed peacefully on July 31, 2025, surrounded by family. He was 86. Plans for a private funeral and a public celebration of his life are underway, as fans gather to honor the man who helped make room in the American soundscape for the rhythms of the Rio Grande. While the music world has lost a giant, the spirit of Flaco Jiménez marches on. In every squeezed bellows, every festive chord, every genre pushed forward by love and courage. The accordion sings because he played it, and through that, his song never ends. "My heart just hit the ground," wrote Paul Rogers, my friend, my songwriting partner. With those words, the world remembered Mick Ralphs not just as a guitarist, but as a soul who left music deeper and richer than he found it. From Herefordshire to the global stage, Ralphs helped shape the pulse of an era. He co-founded Mott the Hoople, then raised the bar again with Bad Company. His riffs powered classics like Can't Get Enough, Feel Like Makin' Love, Bad Company, and Roll Away the Stone, songs that defined 1970s rock and still echo from car radios and concert stages today. His guitar style, crafted, tight, never showy, carried a rare confidence. Ralphs never overcrowded a moment. He let the music breathe. He co-wrote much of Bad Company's searing early material, helping drive their 1974 debut to #1 in the US and multi-platinum glory. Behind the power chords was a quiet man, full of dry wit and generosity. Bandmates remember not just the musician, but the friend, a humble lens through which success was never about spotlight but sound. He collaborated with giants, George Harrison, David Gilmour, but kept his roots grounded. Even after a major stroke in 2016 left him battling long-term health challenges, Ralphs remained an inspiration. In 2025, just months before his passing, news broke that Bad Company would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Fittingly, he lived to hear it, a final honor for a man who never sought accolades, yet richly deserved them. Drummer Simon Kirke wrote, "He was a dear friend, a wonderful songwriter, and an exceptional guitarist. We will miss him deeply." So many will, fans, musicians, friends. Because when you heard a Mick Ralphs song, you felt its soul, and when you met the man, you knew why it mattered. His music plays on, and somewhere in that timeless sound, Mick Ralphs endures. Hang On Sloopy topped the charts, and Rick never looked back. With that breakout 1965 hit, Rick Derringer, born Richard Dean Zeringer, announced his arrival on the national stage. Just 17 years old when he led the McCoys to number 1, Derringer would go on to carve out one of the most multifaceted and enduring careers in American rock music. Rick Derringer passed away on May 26, 2025, in Ormond Beach, Florida, at the age of 77. His death was confirmed by his caretaker, with his beloved wife and collaborator Genda Derringer by his side. Though no cause has been disclosed, the silence left in his absence reverberates deeply. Widely admired for his sharp, soulful guitar playing and gift for melody, Derringer captured the restless spirit of rock in songs that blazed across radios and arenas alike. His 1973 solo anthem Rock and Roll, Hoochie became a signature track, raucous, gritty, and irresistibly alive. Whether front and center or working behind the scenes, his musical instincts remained unmatched. Through the 1970s, Derringer joined forces with Johnny and Edgar Winter, playing and producing some of their most defining work, including the era that birthed hits like Frankenstein and Free Ride. His creative reach expanded far beyond the stage. In the 1980s, he produced Grammy-winning comedy hits for Weird Al Yankovic, including Eat It and Fat, bringing his rock sensibility to parody and pop culture. He also co-created the soaring anthem Real American, which found a second life in the world of professional wrestling as Hulk Hogan's defining theme. Collaborations with Cyndi Lauper, Steely Dan, and Ringo Starr further showcased Rick's versatility and deep well of talent. No matter the genre, no matter the decade, he brought energy, elegance, and edge. Offstage, Derringer was known for his unshakable work ethic, humility, and generosity with younger musicians. He never stopped touring, never stopped making music, releasing Rock the Yacht with Genda as recently as 2023, because connecting with fans fueled his soul. In reflecting on his passing, longtime friend and collaborator Weird Al Yankovic wrote simply, "He will be missed greatly." That sentiment is echoed across generations. Rick Derringer leaves behind a body of work that pulses with life, rebellion, and joy. The chords he struck weren't just musical, they were emotional, cultural, and unforgettable. He may have played his final note, but his songs will never stop playing. A life lived with joy is a role well played. Renée Victor once said that with a twinkle in her voice, and she meant it. For over 5 decades, she brought that joy into the lives of countless fans around the world. Renée Victor, known to millions as the fierce and loving Abuelita Elena from Pixar's Coco and the unforgettable Lupita on Showtime's Weeds, has passed away at the age of 86. She died on May 30, 2025, at her home in Sherman Oaks, California, surrounded by her daughters, Raquel and Margot, after a courageous battle with lymphoma. Born in San Antonio, Texas, Renée began her life on stage as a singer and dancer. She lit up venues from the U.S. to Mexico, performing with legends like Xavier Cugat and Perez Prado. With her husband Ray, she toured as the dynamic duo Ray and Renée, captivating international audiences long before her screen career began. In Los Angeles, she became a prominent voice in the Chicano movement, hosting KTLA's Pacesetters before transitioning into acting, where her talents truly flourished. Audiences first came to know her through roles in ER, Matlock, and The Tony Danza Show. But she found her sweet spot blending strength, humor, and heart in characters like Lupita, a housekeeper who pulled no punches and stole every scene in 22 episodes of Weeds. Still, it was her voice that echoed across the world. As Abuelita in Coco, she became the heart of a film that celebrated family, tradition, and memory. Her spirited performance, scolding with love and guarding tradition fiercely, resonated deeply, especially among Latino viewers. Pixar honored her as an incredible part of the Pixar family, and fans across generations were moved to tears by her fiery tenderness. Renée never slowed down. Even into her 80s, she voiced animated roles, appeared in series like Mayans MC, Snowpiercer, With Love, and kept breathing life into every character she touched. Her work was always grounded, always honest, proving no role is too small when given soul. Friend and colleague Guillermo del Toro once described her as a dream on screen and an uncompromising truth off it. She was more than a performer. She was a bridge across cultures and generations, telling stories that mattered. Renée Victor leaves behind a legacy of resilience, laughter, and compassion. In every Abuelita who watches Coco and hears her strength, in every scene-stealing supporting character who feels vividly alive, her spirit lives on. Her final bow comes with standing ovations from around the world and a whispered gracias from every heart she touched. His music had the pulse of the future and the soul of jazz. Those were the words of Quincy Jones, reflecting on the genius of Lalo Schifrin, a towering presence whose soundtracks reshaped how the world hears cinema. With just 5 jolting beats, Lalo Schifrin etched his name into pop culture history. The Mission, impossible theme became an anthem of suspense, mystery, and momentum, and with it, Schifrin changed the rhythmic vocabulary of film and television forever. Schifrin passed away on June 26, 2025, at the age of 93, due to complications from pneumonia. His influence, though, will echo for lifetimes. Born in Buenos Aires and classically trained in Paris, Boris Claudio Lalo Schifrin made music that defied categories. Whether scoring the gritty tension of Bullet, the philosophical depth of THX 1138, or the sharp wit of the Rush Hour trilogy, his work was unified by a daring musical voice that effortlessly blended jazz, Latin roots, and orchestral power. He was not just prolific, he was decorated. Over a career spanning more than 60 years, Schifrin garnered 5 Grammy Awards, 6 Academy Award nominations, and 4 Emmy nods, culminating in a 2019 honorary Oscar for his lifetime achievements. His journey took flight when jazz great Dizzy Gillespie discovered the young pianist and enlisted him to arrange and play in his band. That collaboration launched Schifrin's U.S. career and opened a path to Hollywood, where he became a trailblazer in film scoring. Known for his rhythmic mastery and harmonic richness, Schifrin believed music should make the listener feel. His compositions did more than accompany, they propelled stories forward. The heartbeat of Enter the Dragon, the nerve of Cool Hand Luke, the lingering eeriness of the Amityville Horror. Each score carried his unmistakable mark. Though origination is rare in any art form, Schifrin was an original. Lalo understood the drama of silence as well as the violence of sound, said director Brett Ratner, who worked with him on the Rush Hour films. He didn't just score scenes, he elevated them. Lalo Schifrin's work crossed boundaries, geographic, stylistic, and generational. From orchestral halls to jazz clubs and blockbuster cinemas, he built bridges with bold ideas and unforgettable melodies. His themes endured because they were never bound to trends. They pulsed with timelessness, just like the man who wrote them. He is survived by loved ones whose privacy is respected at this time. Memorial details have not yet been released. The world has lost a composer, but gained an eternal voice. In every racing heartbeat of film, in every jazz phrase that twists with elegance and fire, Lalo Schifrin lives on. When I hear pet sounds, I hear the voice of God. That is how Paul McCartney once described Brian Wilson's music, words that echo in the hearts of millions mourning Wilson's passing. Brian Wilson, the architect of harmony and emotion in modern pop, left us on June 11, 2025, at age 82. He wasn't just the genius behind Pet Sounds or the driving force of the Beach Boys. He was the soul of an era, the sound of California sunshine wrapped in fragile beauty. His songs, timeless anthems like Good Vibrations, God Only Knows, and I Get Around, were not just hits, but lifelines to joy, longing, and hope. Born in Inglewood, California, Brian found inspiration in the everyday, waves, cars, girls, dreams, and shaped it into something symphonic. As the band's co-founder, visionary producer, and primary songwriter, he redefined what pop music could be. His studio innovations were groundbreaking. His sensitivity, even in silence, resonated louder than the loudest guitar. Though the road was far from smooth, battles with mental health, years away from the spotlight, Brian's return to life and to music late in his career felt miraculous. He toured, he created, he healed. And in doing so, he reminded the world that vulnerability is strength, and that beauty can rise from struggle. Tributes poured in from around the globe. Gavin Newsom praised his impact on California's cultural identity. Elton John, Keith Richards, Bruce Springsteen, each paid homage to a man whose work shaped their own. But perhaps the most touching were the quiet words from fans, listeners who found comfort, clarity, or magic in just a single chord of his. His children, including daughters Carney and Wendy, carry forward pieces of his musical spirit. His beloved wife Melinda and his brothers and bandmates Dennis and Carl precede him in rest. Brian was laid to rest in Westwood, amid the same California skies his music immortalized. The silence left in Brian Wilson's absence is profound, yet his melodies remain, haunting, healing, eternal. He gave the world a soundtrack to its most tender moments. And though he's gone, those vibrations, good and pure, will never fade. His music didn't just play in the background, it moved people forward. Those are the words one longtime collaborator used to describe Chris Jasper, a man whose genius helped define the sound of a generation and whose soul lived in every note he played. Chris Jasper, the celebrated singer, songwriter, keyboardist, and producer whose innovative artistry powered the Isley Brothers' unforgettable transformation, passed away on February 23, 2025, at the age of 73, following a battle with cancer. His loss reverberates across the music world and beyond. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio, Chris brought a deep knowledge of classical composition and a fearless embrace of new sounds to the heart of R&B. His studies at Juilliard deeply shaped his musical path, and his fingerprints are on some of the most influential tracks of the 1970s and 80s. As a core member of the Isley Brothers during their powerful evolution into a self-contained band, he crafted enduring hits like Fight the Power and Between the Sheets, and helped sculpt the group's multi-platinum success. In 1985, Jasper co-founded Isley Jasper Isley, writing and singing lead on the soaring anthem Caravan of Love. The song became a global hit and a symbol of unity and hope, core themes that echoed throughout his life's work. His talent earned him a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992 and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. But those who knew him best spoke just as often about his mentorship, his quiet integrity, and his commitment to guiding younger artists through his independent label, Gold City Records. Beyond the studio walls, Chris was a devoted husband and father. His family remembered him as a dedicated and loving husband and father, adding, "He will be deeply missed, and his legacy will live on as an inspiration for generations." Chris Jasper is survived by his wife, Margie, and their sons Michael, Nicholas, and Christopher. As news of his passing spread, fans and fellow musicians alike paid tribute to a man whose music crossed decades and whose heart never left the keyboard. Chris Jasper changed the sound of soul, but more than that, he gave it a voice through his music. That voice will keep singing for years to come. She was the beloved matriarch of Lakewood Church, an inspiration to millions of people around the world, and a faithful servant of God. With these heartfelt words, Pastor Joel Osteen honored his mother, Dolores Dodie Osteen, whose incredible life came to a peaceful close on July 30th, 2025, at the age of 91. With an unwavering spirit and deep compassion, Dodie Osteen helped shape the heartbeat of modern faith communities. In 1959, alongside her husband John, she co-founded Lakewood Church in a small feed store in Houston. What started with a handful of believers became one of the largest and most influential congregations in the world. To generations of worshipers around the globe, she was known simply and affectionately as Mama Dodie. Dodie's impact extended far beyond the pulpit. Through decades of prayer ministry and personal testimony, she offered comfort to the hurting, hope to the discouraged, and guidance to seekers near and far. Her life, marked by resilience, love, and contagious faith, was a testament to what it means to keep believing even when the odds say otherwise. Her weekly presence on Lakewood's televised services reached millions in over 100 countries. Yet those who knew her best say it was the quiet strength, the handwritten notes, the humble prayers in hospital rooms and living rooms that most defined her legacy. She didn't just preach faith, she lived it every single day, said Lisa Osteen Combs, her daughter. Her life was a ministry of encouragement. Even after the passing of her husband in 1999, Dodie remained steadfast at Lakewood's side, offering support to Joel as he stepped into leadership and continuing to minister with a warm heart and ready smile. She leaves behind a loving family, including her children Joel and Lisa, as well as generations of believers who were touched by her story and strengthened by her example. Houston and friends from all over the world now mourn a woman who gave the world so much, prayerfully, quietly, and with unshakable faith. Dodie Osteen didn't just build a church, she built bridges of grace that will last for lifetimes. Her voice may now be silent, but her legacy sings on, in the lives she changed, in the prayers still whispered in her name, and in the unwavering spirit of hope she lit across the world. With quiet determination and a visionary spirit, Toni Kroos helped transform how millions connected with FC Barcelona. Whether at home in Catalonia or halfway across the globe, fans could turn on their screens and feel one step closer to the club they love. Thanks, in large part, to him. Tony Cruz has passed away at the age of 78, leaving behind a legacy etched not just in scripts and strategy decks, but in every moment streamed on Barça One, the club's groundbreaking free platform he helped bring to life. FC Barcelona confirmed his passing with heartfelt tribute and recognition of his profound role in their digital evolution. For decades, Cruz stood at the forefront of Spanish media. A seasoned producer with an innate sense of storytelling, he earned respect through work that balanced innovation with integrity. But it was his role in creating and leading Barça One that cemented his place as a visionary, not just in sports broadcasting, but in global fan engagement. Under his direction, Barça One became more than a streaming service. It turned into a direct bridge between the club and its supporters around the world. Tony believed deeply that the Barça story should be accessible to everyone, regardless of language, location, or background. That principle guided much of his later work. Beyond his achievements, Cruz was known for generosity behind the scenes. Colleagues speak of him as a mentor who always made time for conversation, a leader who pushed for high standards while empowering creative freedom. Tony made us believe we could build something for everyone. He changed the way we told our story, shared a member of the Barça media team in an internal message after the announcement was made public. He wasn't just our boss, he was our inspiration. While FC Barcelona has not yet released service details, the sentiments pouring in from across the club and its global community speak volumes. Tony Cruz touched lives far beyond the edit room or boardroom. He may no longer be with us, but his work endures every time a supporter presses play. In that simple action lives the legacy of a man who understood the power of media, not just to entertain, but to unite. Tony Cruz gave the world a new way to see Barça, but more importantly, a new way to feel it. Hey friends, let's talk about Wendy Williams, 60, and a moment of grace making headlines today. A little less than a week after Wendy filed for divorce, her husband of more than 20 years, Kevin Hunter, has spoken out, sharing that he's in a time of self-reflection and working to right his wrongs. He offered an apology to Wendy, their family, and fans, and expressed deep respect for the woman who built a media empire and entertained millions. Wendy, often called the queen of all media, had cited irreconcilable differences in her filing, following a challenging period for her health and personal life. Through it all, fans have continued to cheer for her trademark wit, warmth, and resilience. And today's note from Kevin is landing as a reminder that accountability, kindness, and healing can still find their way into the public conversation. For longtime viewers, Wendy's story is part of our shared pop culture memory. Radio to daytime TV, laughter to candid conversations. As this new chapter unfolds, many will remember her for opening doors, lifting spirits, and keeping it real. And that's how she'll be honored, by the joy she sparked, the careers she inspired, and the strength she showed on and off the mic.